Welcome to the podcast, Jeff and Stacy. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Momentous. We're a sports nutrition and food supplement company.
Nice. Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Sims. I am a female physiology and nutrition science expert. Can I use that word, expert?
You can use expert.
Yeah.
I'll use expert, yes.
And today we're talking all things longevity and performance. So how can we get the best out of going forward? What are we doing differently to what we were doing as when we were athletes, when we were in our 20s, to where we want to be going in the future?
Can we reframe it? Instead of saying longevity, say peak span and health span?
Yeah, I feel like the only reason longevity is getting thrown around right now as a bit of a buzzword, and people are starting to hear it pop up. They're naming conferences after it and everything. So just reframing it, I think, is a good way to do it. How is Momentous reframing that longevity?
Yeah, we call it performance for life, right? How do you do the things you love for longer and have a higher quality life as we age? Because that's kind of the goal that we have. It's hard not to use longevity as a whole because it's people now commonly think longevity as health and wellness and more of the pointy edge of it as a whole. I think about longevity more as like, cell health and things like that, like a more specific type than performance for life.
Yeah, I put it in a different framework because if we look at longevity, we know that women live longer than men, but at a much poorer health. And we have autoimmune diseases, we have Alzheimer's, all these things that really impede women from having a quality of life when they are living the later years. So I don't want longevity that way. I want performance for life.
Yeah. Longevity is a bad word because nobody, like, living long is great. And like there's this obsession with a lot of these people who want to live really long. And it's like, life is about joy and doing really doing the things that you want and being as healthy as you can, till that end day, which is not longevity. That's a very different thing.
It's a very different thing. 'Cause I see a lot of people want to live for a really long period of time. And I always look at it as, okay, so where's your peer group? How are you living? Are you by yourself? Are you out doing all the stuff? Are you getting a new peer group? Or like, let's really get into that because there's more than just living for a long period of time.
Yeah, to me that it's health span versus lifespan. So we want to keep that health for as long as possible, reduce that having to be cared for, and have your ability to be independent for as long as possible.
Yeah, 100%. So then we always get the question, well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Let's be muscle-centric.
What does that mean?
Yeah. What is muscle-centric?
Yeah, what does muscle-centric mean?
So I am pulling people into, let's see how we can build and keep muscle. Because if we think about what's an active tissue, what helps support your bones, what helps with cardiovascular health, what helps with brain health, what helps with metabolic health, all of it is how we are looking at building muscle. So we look at strength training, we look at high intensity work, we look at protein and fiber, all the things that go into being muscle centric or taking care of our muscle also takes care of all the other systems. So instead of focusing, I know that a lot of women, especially now we're seeing the misuse of GLP-1s, is like, I want to look thin. I need to lose weight. And I'm now reframing it going, well, what do you have to gain if you focus on weight loss?
Yeah.
And that's the question. What do you have to gain?
Yeah.
And we think, well, actually, the only thing I might have to gain is potentially an aesthetic look. But it's not really, if you're not putting work in to be muscle-centric, the aesthetic look isn't going to be healthy. Whereas if we think about what do you have to gain if you're muscle-centric, you have the aesthetics that come with all the other health benefits.
I think what like I find fascinating with like this GLP-1 trend from an aesthetic perspective is it actually doesn't help you age well.
No.
Like that loss of muscle mass or that aversion to muscle mass actually is going to create such bigger issues when you're in your 60s or your 70s, when like the muscle mass is actually what's going to keep you looking great as you age.
Yeah. And you need a little bit more as you age in case you get sick. So you have the fallback.
Yeah.
And it's not when or if you get sick, it's when you get sick.
Yeah.
Because that happens so much more often as you get into an older state of life.
And even from an athlete perspective, people think when they're losing weight, they're thinking about muscle mass, and they think that bone is something that they just lose really gradually and really slowly. And when you're looking at the amount of bone stress injuries that are in like endurance athletes, triathlon athletics, they happen really, really rapidly. They happen in like a 4 to 6 week period of a high training load and under fueling. And when you're on one of these drugs and you are under fueling, you can have rapid bone loss. And you're just going to end up being weak. And then that's where your independence gets stripped away.
Your frailty. If you're frail, then you've lost your independence. If you lose your independence, then it's that downward spiral.
One of the things I love about you, Stacy, is you're almost so forward thinking that it's edgy, and you're pushing people to like rethink and break down social constructs of like strength training for women and what does that mean. And I think, right, you have this, like, you're part of writing this book around how do you think about performance as you age as a female. And one of the things I've just found fascinating is like this power and strength aspect that I never associated with health and wellness until like a year or two ago, but I don't think women ever do. And what you're learning in this, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more around like that health and wellness and that performance for life around strength training and interval training for women.
Yeah, I mean, women have been put in a social construct so much about being more delicate and having to look a certain way. And I get really incensed now with, like I said, the uptick of the misuse of GLP-1s, where now we're seeing this kind of frail heroin chic model look come back. And it's putting women squarely back into that box. And I'm like, how are you going to take up space and be confident if you're always being pushed into, we need you to look a certain way in a dress or need to look a certain way in fashion that is not appropriate for everybody. And when people come, like the Women's Global Forum released a report, and over 50% of the women were just concerned about weight loss. So I'm always like, why are we so concerned about weight loss? What is a number on a scale going to do? We need to be concerned about body composition. What is body composition? It's muscle and bone. If we're protecting those, then we know that we have better brain health. And my worry for most women is a sex difference in Alzheimer's and dementia, because we see that there's a higher risk factor for women to develop tangles and tau plaques and all the things that contribute to Alzheimer's, also because we have a misstep in brain metabolism through perimenopause and postmenopause, which exacerbates it. So
what is that misstep?
So it means that as we are losing estrogen and progesterone, all the metabolism in a woman's body shifts. So we see a greater reliance on glucose and carbohydrate. We have more insulin resistance. We can't tap into free fatty acids as well. So there's a conversion of free fatty acids into those esterified fat that becomes visceral fat. And in the brain prefers glucose, but because there's such a change in metabolism, the brain can't really use glucose that well. So then it starts to, I mean, we see this as brain fog. We start to see women are getting cognitive decline and trying to understand what's going on. So we pull it right back. There are two main things we can think about. One is, how are we going to increase neural connectivity? Because if we are always taxing the neurons and the nerves, then we are able to keep the brain firing. And that's what we need, because if we start losing cognition and the ability to have our short and long-term working memory and all the things that go into being sharp, it's neural connectivity. And we see, like with tau plaques, we're decreasing the ability for the neurons to fire. If we're looking at strength training, that's a direct nervous system stimulant that creates better neuroplasticity, that creates an environment where the neurons have to talk to each other in order to create a pattern to fire, to create muscle contraction. And then if we look at high intensity work, we see that lactate production that occurs in like a 4-minute higher intensity session, then that lactate becomes a preferred fuel for the brain. So then we have better brain metabolism. So both of those two factors, I don't look at it as, yes, we get better muscle and we get better body composition. I'm always now in the focus of how are we preserving the brain? What are we doing to enhance longevity and health span in the brain? Because if we start losing all the faculties, then that contributes to the inability to be independent.
What I'm hearing there is the brain is responding to the heavy loads, the really high intensity, and it's helping counter some of the natural things that happen during this perimenopause when your brain is like being starved. What I'm hearing is it's being starved in that time period a bit because the hormones are changing. It can't use the fuel sources that it's used to. And so the strength training, the high intensity training is actually helping your brain continue to fire, right? Even in that starved state, and figure out how to use different fuel sources. Is that kind of a correct way of saying it?
Yeah, to make it easier, when we think about cardiovascular work, right? The idea behind going for a walk or a run is to improve the functionality of the heart.
Yeah.
To improve the heart muscle, to improve the chamber size, to improve overall function. And when we're looking at strength training and high intensity work, that's what it's doing to the brain. Because not only are we improving the way that the brain works from a neural standpoint and a fueling standpoint, we're also producing BDNF, which is brain neurotrophic factor, which is miracle grow for the brain. So it's the trifecta, right? If we're looking at, we do cardio to improve heart health, what does that mean? That means that we are improving blood vessel, we're improving blood flow, we're improving the muscle contractile strength of the heart, we're improving the neural connectivity to the heart. All of those things never get talked about in cardio.
Yeah.
So if we start pushing, we want to be muscle centric. Why do we want to be muscle centric? If it lands on the ears of we're muscle centric so we have better blood glucose control, great. We are muscle centric so we have an impetus to build bone, great. We're muscle centric so that we have more muscle so that we can be independent and move well, great. We're muscle centric so that we have better neurons and better brain connectivity and better brain metabolism. People are like, what? But if we can land on one of those things for people to be muscle centric, then the optimization of the brain comes.
Stacy, I've just got a question about this time of people's lives when this shift is happening, which is generally 40s, 50s, is a very high stress time. And how do people get into this performance style of training while they're trying to deal with stress? And then generally another thing that shifts with this hormone shift is the ability to have good quality sleep. Mm-hmm. And so if you're trying to navigate this, where do you start?
Yeah, so each person's journey is different, and we know this. And so I always tell people, okay, let's establish where we are, because a lot of women have gotten disconnected of how they feel, mm-hmm. and they don't know what it means to be fed, what it means to be hungry, what it means to be well slept, recovered. So I always pull people right back and say, we want to have 10 minutes 3 times a week, that it's a meeting with yourself that you cannot change. So we say it's a 10-minute wellness meeting. In the first week or two, maybe you're getting up a little bit earlier, maybe 5 or 10 minutes early, so that you have quiet time before anyone else in the house wakes up. No phones, no screens, no like external stressor. You might have your coffee in front of the window, feeling the sun. Maybe you're outside for a 10-minute walk, or maybe you're just sitting and meditating, just being surrounded by the silence. So there's so many times we don't have that silence. Mm-hmm. And once you start doing that and you become more in tune with how do I feel today? I feel physically tired or mentally tired. Then we can navigate into what kind of movement do we want to add in. Yeah. So if we're looking at someone who's in their 40s and 50s and highly stressed, they have parent stress, spouse stress, child stress, work stress. One of the best things that you can do to counter that stress is actually strength training. Mm-hmm. So we might do 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of really quality work. It's going to wake up the central nervous system, but it's not going to be what we call a metabolic tax. So it's not going to create that cortisol response that a lot of people associate with high intensity work if they're not doing it properly. So we start people with that, let's just get the journey of strength training going. And believe me, I come from a long history of endurance and hitting it hard and doing all of the cardio type work, but finding in the research that strength training is so beneficial when you're highly stressed, you're trying to navigate poor sleep, you're trying to navigate all of the life stress. Because if we start that and we get a parasympathetic hit from strength training first, then it feeds forward into better quality sleep.
one of the most frequently asked questions we get is people just wanting to start straight with the Stacy says I need to lift heavy. Stacy says I need to sprint. Stacy says I need to do HIIT. And we know that that's something that takes time.
Absolutely. So I am always telling what the optimal thing is. We want to have a journey to get to this optimization. We see from the research that optimal is doing a couple of sprint interval sessions and 2 to 3 heavy lifting sessions a week. Doesn't take a lot. But I don't want anyone to think I have to wake up tomorrow and start doing this.
Yeah.
And as I was explaining earlier to you guys, it's like a marathon. Like people understand what it means to be marathon training, where
Yeah, you're not going to just randomly chuck on shoes and do it.
so if we're looking at how do we get to this endpoint of high intensity and heavy lifting, we have to think about all of the things, right? We have to think about what is your training history, what are your ligaments and tendons doing, what is the capacity of your muscle. So we work on all of those in the journey to get to heavy lifting and high intensity. And it might take 6-8 months, or maybe a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's not a training block that I'm aiming for. I'm aiming to how are we going to optimize our physicality to improve our mental and our sociocultural aspects and touch points as we get older.
Yeah.
When it's so curious to hear you say sprint training,
Yeah.
right? And I would expect most people think of sprint as in running on a track. What do you mean by sprint training?
It's the intensity. And when we're thinking about intensity, people think running sprints are really short because that's the intensity. So if we're thinking about focused intensity, sprint interval training by definition is a supra-maximal event that's 30 seconds or less with plenty of recovery between. So we look 30 seconds or less with 2 to 3 minutes recovery. That recovery is really important because when you're doing 30 seconds or less, it's not metabolically taxing. So it's not clearing out all your glycogen, it's not clearing out all your glucose. It's really taxing the central nervous system because we are looking at how are we going to coordinate all of the nerves to fire in a coordinated pattern to be able to invoke that speed and that contraction for that intensity. That's why you need that recovery.
And that's what you're saying is so good for the brain, which makes sense because it's taxing the central nervous system, which is creating your brain to figure out how everything can go. Yeah. And so what are examples, 30 seconds or less?
One of our favorite to start on is the air bike because it's really difficult to injure yourself, but you can absolutely gas yourself on an air bike. Yeah. It's very, very hard to do 30 seconds all out on one of those.
Yeah. And for me, the air bike is doesn't matter how fit you are, it hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts regardless of if it's you just go harder. It's just 30 seconds all out on that.
Yeah, I don't even make 30 seconds. I'm lucky if I make it to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you're trying to push into 30, you're like, ugh. Yeah.
But air bike, if you don't have an air bike, what's alternative?
It could be any mode. We look at
stationary bike.
Yeah. But it could be battle ropes. It could be stairs.
Battle ropes. That's a great one.
Kettlebell swings.
Yep.
Sled push.
And from an injured person's perspective, because we get that a lot, we can do battle ropes seated on a box. You can do ski erg seated on a box. Yep. There's lots of different ways that you can adapt an exercise to make it okay for you if you're unable to do the full exercise.
Right.
Yeah, because I think it's so intimidating. We're all ex-athletes, right? And but most people who think of sprint, they're I'm not ready.
No.
Right? And it's not about the sprint. It's about the taxation of the nervous system.
Right.
And you just are able to go harder over time. And I think that it's just there's so many different things you can do. It's the matter of doing it.
Right.
And then what is that happy medium from a set perspective? Are you trying to do 5 sets, 20 sets?
Oh gosh, no, we get this all the time.
Sometimes you can literally, if you've gone all out,
2
sets.
Yeah, just do 2. And then you'll be I don't think I've got a third one. Yeah. Today, that's me.
I'd never want people to go over 5.
Yeah.
Because when you start going into the 4 to 5, then your intensity decreases and you don't get that super maximal intensity. It feels like it, but from a physical and a physiological standpoint, you're not.
Yeah.
So it's stop. Yeah. Don't do more. It's about the quality, not the quantity.
I've always when you're doing all out things and you get to 4, 5, 6, 7, that's when you typically get hurt.
Yep.
Right? Because you lose your ability to control your body. And then when you're talking about those sprint efforts, are you doing those on a back end of a cardio day? Are you doing those on the back end of a strength training day? Or like how do you recommend?
It's its own thing.
It's its own thing.
It's its own thing. You could, if you're time constrained. I coach some women who are really super time constrained, and they're like, I want to do my lifting and I want to put some sprint stuff. So we might start with 10 minutes of mobilization, so really getting into the joints, move into 20-minute compound lift, and then we'll finish with a couple of sprints on the assault bike or on the rowing or the skier because we're in the gym.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're doing med ball slams instead.
Yeah.
So it's not the risk potential from doing a full body, like total kind of assault bike or row, whatever. So if we're doing med ball slams or throws with that intent for 30 seconds, it gives you that intensity.
You use the word compound lift. What do you mean by compound lift?
So our compound lifts are things like our barbell squats, our deadlifts, our bench press, our push press, anything that is using total body.
Yeah. Multiple joints.
Multiple joints.
Yeah. So, a lot of people in the gym will be wanting to do isolation, but we've got to think about how is that going to translate into what we're doing in everyday activities, the sports we love to do. So it's very rare that you see athletes going into the gym and training in isolation. They're doing compound lifts.
Yeah. And so how do you feel versus like free weights, dumbbells, barbells versus a machine?
They're all part of a journey, right?
Yeah.
So if you're injured, machines are good because then you can really focus on what am I working? Or if you've never done any kind of lifting before, I tell people let's start with body weight and then we can add some lighter dumbbells. Because the thing with machines is that they are primarily designed for a 160-pound, 6-foot-tall dude. And it's really hard to modify that to make it fit for a smaller woman.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's try to do as many things as we can with our own body weight and some load that we're adding rather than go to machines.
Yeah.
But machines are beneficial for things like injury or, trying to isolate certain muscle groups.
Yeah.
But they're not that fantastic when we're trying to get like all of the muscles involved.
Yeah, I think a really good machine in the gym is the Smith machine. So that's really good for doing isometrics, eccentrics, to really train all those tendons, tendon load, make sure that we can do our sprint interval training. And then
Many people might not know what a Smith machine is.
a Smith machine is basically your squat rack that's on tracks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it means it's a little bit safer. You can even learn to do your squats and your RDLs and your deadlifts on a Smith machine because then you don't need to worry about the bar drifting away from the body and it's going to keep it in a nice plane. So I recommend, like, if you're new and looking for a gym, I'd recommend trying to find a gym that's got a Smith machine in it.
When I am traveling, I look for hotels that have a Smith machine and dumbbells.
Has wellness culture overcomplicated recovery?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get this question all the time. What kind of recovery should I do? Should I do sauna? Should I do compression? Yeah, all that stuff. I'm like, let's look at the cake you're baking.
Yeah.
Right?
This is sprinkles. This is sprinkles. It's not even ice.
Yeah, I know. It's like you bring out this beautiful cake because you spent all this time building the cake and making sure the recipe's great. And then you're like, okay, now how do I make this beautiful? People will slap some buttercream on it haphazardly. Then they might put some sprinkles. It's like, let's just learn how to put the buttercream on. So what is that? That's proper nutrition. It's good sleep. It's foam rolling. It's using our resistance bands for mobilization, especially like with the ready state and what the starrettes are doing. So all of those things to improve mobility and the, the tension in the tissues. So we want to make sure that we have really supple tissues. Then we can look at what else do I need to do.
From my perspective, it's amazing because I've always worked in the high performance space and now I've got a business where I'm working with people that are just general population and I prescribe them like mobility and stretching. And do people just go into the gym and just start lifting weights cold?
Yes, they do.
Everyone's like, wow, these mobility exercises are so amazing. And because I've never seen it, experienced it, I've always come from, I guess, a place where there's been really good structure. I've never known anything else. So it's been really eye-opening to introduce people that haven't experienced mobility.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like if they go to a CrossFit box or something and they're running late, they'll skip it and get right into the lifting. It's like, wait a second. Or they'll warm up for 2 minutes on the cardio. It's like, wait, no, that's not getting into your joints. We want to actually make sure that we are doing full range of motion throughout all the joints with the mobility, so that when you do add load, you have really good form.
And even the thing of some people go straight into stretching, and with a stretch, you actually need to be warm to have stretch, because otherwise you're stretching a cold muscle. And if you think about it, it's like a cold slab of meat that's not going to stretch. So you need to warm it up so it's a little bit pliable, and there's a little bit of, ability for the muscle to move so you can get in there.
My worst thing that I do is mobility. Like I reject it and ignore it more than anything else in my life. And why is because I'm the worst at it. It's like
it's painful.
It's just I'm not mobile. Like I've just had so many and it's like I suck at it.
Yeah.
But I also get in my head about it, because it's not about like being good at like having the best hip mobility. It's about doing your hip mobility.
Right.
And then like I just like my personal like, and I can see other people, like I get in my own head, I'm like, oh, right, it's so hard to work on mobility. And it turns out like one of our collective good friends, the Starettes, it's like just something.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like so easy. And I think that's, it's like you asked the question, is like, are we making recovery overcomplicated? We are making everything complicated.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, as a whole, it's like, just do a little bit. And it doesn't have to be, it's not 30 minutes. It's not an hour. It's just like, do a little bit of mobility movement, which is like as Kelly always said, you just want to touch your ranges of motion before you go, which I think is so fascinating. And I still ignore and regret it.
Consistency.
Right?
Come on.
Consistency. I know mobility is like my arch nemesis.
3 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I was laughing that I sent Juliet a text. I'm like, is it bad I can only hold a couch stretch for 20 seconds before it's really painful?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not even answering that.
Yeah.
What are the other main things for recovery? We've got basically a few pillars for recovery, which are sleep and nutrition.
Rest days.
Yeah.
Rest and recovery, because when we're looking at adaptation, the adaptation doesn't happen during the exercise. It happens in the recovery. Yes. So if we compromise recovery, then we're compromising our adaptation.
I think I'm probably one of the worst I feel like I train during the week to do everything I want to do on the weekend. So my rest day will be like going up the mount, going for a surf, then I get invited for a wakeboard, and then I don't end up having a recovery day. My recovery day ends up being like a 9-hour exercise day.
But what do you define as a recovery day, Stacy?
So
doesn't mean laying on the couch.
No. Just incidental movement. So walking places instead of driving, or doing some mobility, a focused mobility session. Always doing some kind of movement, because I can't sit still.
Yeah.
But not just sitting down on the couch.
Could your long bike ride be a recovery?
This past weekend it was, because it was so slow on purpose. My heart rate didn't get up. I didn't sweat. I didn't feel taxed at all. I felt good at the end. Yeah. So that can definitely be recovery. Where people were like, oh, I go out for a long bike ride or a run. It's like, well, how slow are you going?
Yeah.
Can you bring that heart rate and everything really low? And then that can be recovery.
Like, would a surf be considered a recovery day in your mind? I'm not a surfer. I have no idea.
Probably not my surf.
No.
Well, you're a good surfer, that means.
It's a bit intense.
It's a bit intense.
A longboard, maybe.
Yeah, a longboard. For sure.
Well, like a nice paddleboard on a lake,
Yeah.
Right, a good hike with your family is all recovery day.
And a long run where you can have a yap with your friend. Like, I consider probably my Sunday long run a recovery.
Yeah. How would you judge the intensity of recovery movement? Like that you can have a conversation during the whole time?
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't like when people are talking about zone 2, zone 1, it's really arbitrary. Because how are you prescribing that? Are you prescribing it based on feel? Are you prescribing it on heart rate? Are you prescribing it on lactate threshold, ventilatory threshold? Are you a man or a woman who's being tested? Because if you're looking at lactate or ventilatory threshold, they're not ideal for prescribing for women, because we can work at a higher percentage and still stay aerobic versus men. So there's so many different confounding variables within that. Like originally when we were talking about zones, it was based in high performance.
Yeah.
Right. And we know that from our athletic background. It's like zone 1 means you're like really low, 50%, you're just really just chilling. Zone 2, what is that? Well, yeah, you could hold
Conversation
it. Yeah,
pace.
Conversation pace. And then we start getting into the upper zones. It's specific to you because you've been tested.
Yeah.
But then when you start getting out there and you're hearing all the zone 2 stuff, it's like from a mitochondrial standpoint, where they're talking about all the mitochondrial health that you get from zone 2, it's not really hard enough. It's not hard enough to invoke change for mitochondria, but it's still too hard to be recovery.
Got it.
So there's a lot of things out there that are circulating. It's like you pulled it from high performance sport that's very specific in how it's being prescribed to being out there in the general population, and no one really understands what that means.
Yeah.
So when we talk about recovery and going for a long run or a ride or something like that, it's just absolutely just like I could go forever.
Just chill mode.
Just chill mode.
Yeah. But it is active movement. And I think that's what's so important, that, like high performance sport, when you think of recovery day, it's nothing.
Right.
Right. But that's because you're like max threshold all the time.
Yeah.
But what I found, right now that I'm not an elite athlete, is like recovery day is
Going for a hike.
going for a hike with the family, or, or an easy bike ride, or, going on a paddle on the lake, or whatever it may be. Like those are things that I think people, still movement, and like that, cardio, it's almost cardio-esque, very light volume of like just movement, and motion is lotion, and like keeps your body going.
When I was racing road bikes on my recovery days, I would do water walking.
Water.
Oh, like aqua jogging.
Not jogging. But yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I would use a belt sometimes if it was just deep, or otherwise it was just up to here.
Yeah.
And because of the motion of the pool and the water and your almost anti-gravity, it was so nice. Yeah.
One thing I have heard you talk about a few times on podcasts is non-sleep deep rest, and I don't really understand it.
Me either. Thank you.
I think Huberman coined it non-sleep deep rest, but it originated from Yoga Nidra, which is a sort of non-sleep lucid meditation.
Okay.
If we bring it into more modern context, it's a contract, relax, progressive relaxation.
Like
So you start
tensing muscles and relaxing them.
Yes, so from the toes up.
Okay.
But what we look at is a combination of breath exercises with that, so that you are able to really just completely relax everything and invoke a parasympathetic response. So it's like you are sleeping, but you're not. And it depends on what kind of, mode you're in. Are you in the yoga mode? Are you in the high performance mode, or what you call it? Some people are like, oh, it's progressive relaxation and breath work. Other people, yoga nidra. Other people, non-sleep deep rest. All of it is about how we can make the body completely relax and invoke parasympathetic.
And probably just be present, right?
Yeah.
Is that meditation? Like,
It could be.
Yeah.
But a lot of things with meditation is focusing on one thing that you're trying to just not let the brain wander. But a lot of us who are super active, our brain does wander.
Yeah.
So if you are actively thinking contract, relax, deep breath in, deep breath out, and so you're going through from the toes all the way up, you're not just focusing on what is my breath doing. You're actually allowing your brain to settle, which is really beneficial for invoking parasympathetic.
And why do we need to invoke sympathetic?
So that is the way that our body just kind of and allows ourselves to get into sleep. If we have times during the day, we all know that we're tired but wired or highly stressed.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of our parasympathetic. If we are trying to go to bed in that tired but wired sympathetic driven state, it takes a lot for the body to unwind in order to get into a deep reparative sleep.
Yeah.
You need to be in parasympathetic in order for that to happen. So if you can take just a few moments during the day to invoke that, then your body is like, I can get into that a lot faster.
Got it. So we're basically using deep rest. You're using this as a way to help you get to sleep faster at night.
Yep.
But it's not being done right before you go to bed at night. It's being done throughout the day in small pieces.
You could do it first thing in the morning, because then that sets you up better throughout the day, because you've already brought that sympathetic drive down.
Got it.
So then you're not revving at as in the 7s, you're revving in the 4s throughout the day.
Is it important to have that sympathetic drive?
Well, I think we're all overdriven.
Okay.
We're always constantly bombarded by noise, by sight, by sound. We never have the ability just to. How many people drive in the car without the radio on?
Yeah.
Right? So many people get in, automatically turn it on. Or in the case of some cars, it comes on automatically full blast.
Yeah.
It's like you're always being stimulated.
Yeah.
We never have the opportunity just to. And it's really important.
I guess leads into sleep and how important sleep is. And the comments that we're getting on the internet is, I never get 8 hours, blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like people wear it as a badge of honor that they can function on as little sleep as possible.
Yeah, I'm like, that's really old school. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
We know that if you aren't getting quality sleep, I'm not so concerned about the 7 to 9 hours. I'm more concerned about the quality of the sleep. If we don't have quality sleep, then we don't have blood glucose regulation. We always have a higher resting blood glucose. We have a higher sympathetic drive. We have more severe responses to small stresses during the day. So that means a bigger whack of cortisol. And if you're looking for body composition change or you're looking to improve all health outcomes, you have to have good quality sleep. And
injury risk too.
Injury risk too.
Skyrockets.
Yep. And then two of the big things that I always hear about, I can't sleep, I have lots of awakenings. And this comes from a lot of women, and it's because they're not eating enough or they're eating at the wrong times of day.
Why would that create that?
Awakenings?
Yeah.
Hypoglycemia.
I don't know.
So that means your blood sugar drops too much. And
Got it.
It's a threat to the body, so you wake up.
Got it.
But you're not
your
consciously awake. You just have these little...
And your body's waking up. You're having these low glucose or low glycemic things, and that's because you've been underfed.
Yep.
And why is your body doing that at night? It's just saying, hey, you need to fuel.
Yeah, because at night is when your body does all its reparation. It's memory consolidation, it's physical consolidation. So it's actively using fuel at night to repair and regenerate. And if your blood glucose drops, then your body wakes up. It's like, whoa, okay, I need to kickstart something else to get some glucose going.
Got it.
And it's primarily low blood glucose in the brain. So the brain's like, whoa, I've dropped below my 3 millimoles. What's going on? I need to somehow create a muscle contraction, or I need to tap into the liver. I need to do something to bring my glucose up.
And that's what's waking you up.
That's
why
why
your body's tapping into something.
Yeah. So on your wearables, you're like, I had so many awakenings over the night. Why is that?
That's so interesting.
Like, okay, well, let's try to have some casein before bed. What does that look like? Let's have some cottage cheese or yogurt half an hour before bed. And then that helps stabilize everything, and it reduces awakenings. That's one of the first things I have people do. And it's like, okay, well, we see that we've reduced awakenings because of a little bit of fuel before bed. Let's look at the whole day.
Yeah.
When are you first eating? How are we booking in our calories? Are you holding or withholding food until like noon? We know that's really bad for circadian rhythm. And if you have an interrupted circadian rhythm, it's as if you've phase shifted, as if you've gone on night shift or you're jet lagged.
Yeah.
So all of your hormone perturbations that normally occur during the day have been shifted. Your melatonin peak isn't as high, it's blunted, your cortisol responses are blunted.
Yeah.
So you have all of these things that feed forward into poor sleep.
That's so fascinating that fueling has such a distinct impact on sleep.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yeah.
I understand, okay, let's give our body some fuel before you go to sleep. Right? Like that makes, from an athlete perspective, that makes sense to me, as it repairs, and you got to consume something before you go to bed, because if not, you're starving your body. But I never thought about it from the female physiology perspective. How is fueling during the day actually impacting your circadian rhythm, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, because men and women have differences in their circadian rhythm length. So men's a little bit longer, women's a little bit shorter. So if we're looking at what are the most powerful zygotes to change circadian rhythm, it's light and dark and food intake. So if we are like a typical woman who isn't that well in the know of things because listening to all the stuff out there, might do intermittent fasting, and then they wake up, they do their training, they're holding their fast till 11 or 12, and then they're trying to eat their calories in the afternoon, and then they're trying not to eat right before bed. We're seeing that there's this whole phase shift because the body wakes up and has 6 hours or so of no food, but you're trying to do stuff. So our appetite hormones get dysregulated. Our cortisol responses to small stresses to the day are heightened. We become more sympathetically driven, and we move less incidentally. And what I explain to people is like, it's the walling in the afternoon where like, I'm so tired, what's going on? So then you're reaching for the caffeine, or you're reaching for matcha or something like that to wake you up. And then that's further dysregulation of the way that your circadian rhythm is working. So then when your 9 p.m. melatonin peak is supposed to happen, it's blunted and it's delayed. So now we aren't being able to ride the wave into really good reparative sleep. Whereas if we were to switch that and say, you know what? We know that a woman's circadian rhythm works really well when you eat within a half an hour of waking up, because then you get appetite hormone regulation. We get regular pulse of our testosterone, our estrogen, our luteinizing hormone, our thyroid, all of our hormones that pulse throughout the day, they stay regulated. And then that's less stress in the body. We have less sympathetic drive because we're not as stressed per se, because we are working with our circadian rhythm.
That leads really nicely into your viral protein coffee.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how you basically break your fast in the morning.
That's how I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will preface it as, it's not scientifically validated, people. I got all these questions.
Just loves it, all right?
People would ask me, what do you do first thing in the morning if you're part of the 5 or 6 a.m. club and you don't want to eat? I'm like, I don't necessarily feel hungry till 10, but I know that I need fuel. Yeah. So that's where the protein coffee came into play.
And it's just right. The protein coffee is just protein, caffeine, and some carbs via oat milk or some type of, like you could even have a banana with it, right? Like we talked about yesterday. Yeah. And all you're doing there is you're feeding your body so that it can start the hormone production that's necessary. And if you wait till 10 o'clock, then your hormone production is shifting 6 or 7 hours, and then you're struggling to produce the melatonin at night.
And
right?
you have interrupted sleep.
And you have interrupted sleep, which is really fascinating. And why is that different than male physiology?
Because men's circadian rhythm is longer.
Okay.
And that means that you have a longer play within the day of waking up with food. So the way I explain is like when we all travel east, men tend to suffer more with jet lag because they're having to really shorten their circadian rhythm. If we all travel west, Loretta and I have more problems because we're trying to lengthen our circadian rhythm.
Got it.
Whereas if we're looking at how men and the hormone perturbations and how nutrient sensitive men's bodies are compared to women, your endocrine system, yes, is robust, but it doesn't have as much to it as a woman because we have our reproductive years of our menstrual cycle and all of those things that are tightly tied to it. And then when we get to perimenopause, we still have hormone flux. Yeah. It's when we start getting into postmenopause where the bodies become more similar, but that circadian rhythm piece is still there. Got it. Because it's a cellular component. We have cellular time clocks within our bodies.
I'll give an example. Like my mom and dad, right, are very health forward. And my dad got on this big fasting train. Oh. Right? And my mom's like, oh, I might as well do it too. Right? And I think she like just hit the wall. And now it's like my dad still fasts till like 11 o'clock in the morning, but my mom is like,
I need food.
Food, first thing. And I think it's so interesting. Like it's not the one size fits all, but it's also not like, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Right? Like when you like take a step back, it's like our bodies are designed very differently because ultimately from a procreation perspective, we have to be very different. Right. And the fasting perspective is so interesting to me.
And I get, well, what if I need to lose weight? It's like, okay, you can have a slight calorie deficit, but at night. Yeah. Don't have it in the day. Don't withhold your food, because not only that, you're getting that disruption, and we see it so evident in the literature in shift workers. We see a significant sex difference in shift work. Really? Health outcomes, metabolic health outcomes. We see a higher incidence of inflammation, poor glucose management, obesity in female shift workers than we do in male shift workers. And so when we're looking at that, it's like, why? And we're looking at all the circadian rhythm issues that come up with phase shifting like that. So we're really specific, like working with our tactical athletes. Yeah. If you're having a night mission or a 3-day out in the field mission, how are we going to reset that circadian rhythm for women versus men? It's when are we seeing light? We're using microdosing melatonin differently. We're using protein differently. It's to help reset all of those different hormone pulses between men and women.
Got it. It's fascinating.
Stacy, we get asked a lot about we're nailing our diet, we're nailing our sleep. How can we make ourselves more optimal having supplements? And what supplements are you using and why? Because a lot of people know that they should be, having a protein powder, taking creatine, having omega and D3, but they don't know the why behind it.
So I'm, like all of us, are always food first. Even Jeff, who is the CEO of a supplement company, like he always says, let's do food first, but there is a time and a place for supplementation.
Yeah.
For me, my go-tos really are creatine, because again, brain health and muscle function and bone health, we see creatine's used in every system of the body.
Yeah.
And the data is now irrefutable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Most studied supplement.
Planet.
And then I'm always going to lean into a review that came out of all the creatine articles that were not in the health and performance space, just in the health space. This came out 6 or 7 weeks ago. And the population that benefited the most from that 5-gram creatine dose a day were women 18 to 60.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, we know that that's something that's really important, and it's for all of the systems of the body. So that's one of my go-tos. The other is protein supplementation. So always on the go, I need it because I can't necessarily get all the protein that I need in a day.
I think what's so interesting on the protein supplementation perspective is, right, when we talk to our like elite dietitians in pro and college sports, like they don't even consider protein powder a supplement. They're like, this is food, right? Because it's a macronutrient. They're like, we're talking about food here.
Right.
Like, why are you talking about supplementing protein?
Right.
It's like, it's just a mix. Like you can get protein from a lot of sources, but like a very highly concentrated plant protein or whey protein is like just like think of it as food.
Yeah, for highly active people, it is really, really difficult to consume that much food and calories to get the right amount of protein.
The question I'm sure you get too is I always get, well, like we didn't always do this, and it's like, yeah, but we weren't trying to optimize like our lives and like live a healthy long life. Like that wasn't a thing. We also ate very differently back then.
Right. One of the questions I got last month in a podcast was, why are you telling people to do high intensity and heavy lifting? Like our grandparents didn't do that. Our parents didn't do that, and they lived to be fine. You have to look at that lifestyle back then. We didn't have internet. We didn't have Teslas. We didn't have electric garage door openers. We had to walk to different places. Like the lifestyle was one that created the movement that we needed.
Yeah.
But now we have so much automation and sitting that we have to do something to counter that.
Yeah.
And part of it is the food sources. Like as an expat, I go to the States and I have a really difficult time finding good food to eat because everything is highly processed.
Yeah.
It's overly sweet.
Yeah.
Can't find bread that doesn't have too much sugar in it.
Yeah.
So it's,
Jeff was so impressed with our gas station bread.
oh,
I went there and I was like, there's like nothing in this bread. It's
real.
It's real bread. I was
it's not
like,
ultra processed and highly sweet. No.
U.S. gas station bread would be like
A Twinkie.
fortified with 500 ingredients, so it would last for 3 months on that shelf.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
And so when we start looking at what supplementation, I do more supplementation in the States than I do here.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, omegas, definitely brain health. Here in New Zealand, I don't use it as much as when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Because I can get what I need from food because
Yeah.
it's available and it's not ultra processed and not that hard to find. So my supplementation stacks and things change depending on where I am, what kind of travel I've been doing, even seasonality.
Yeah.
Could you explain why we need to take D3 for bone health?
Yeah, so vitamin D is actually a hormone.
Okay.
And we think about how it is a precursor for a lot of the feedback mechanism for creating tissue growth. And we see it's important for muscle growth. We see it's important for bone and bone growth because of the way it works as a hormone within the body. we don't necessarily, especially down in the southern hemisphere in the winter, produce enough. And then in the summertime, we are all hats and long sleeves and sunscreen.
Because we have no ozone layer.
Down here, yeah.
Well, I think that's like, we can get it naturally from the sun, right? Certain times of the year, but also the sun has a lot of negative effects too, right? And so it's like you're balancing what that is. And people are like, oh, I just sit out in the sun. I was like, well,
Then you get things cut out.
yeah, exactly.
My poor friend just got some stuff cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out the day I got out of knee surgery that I had to get things cut out of the same leg. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening for a while.
Should have just done it when I was there.
Well, could you have done it? Yeah.
So you're pretty habitual on creatine, protein, omegas, and Vit D, it sounds like.
That's it.
And then everything
And
else.
then at night,
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
magnesium and L-theanine.
Yeah. And I think what's so important is it's also like, people always ask me, I was like, supplementation is very personal. Like you have your core basics that like everybody should follow. Then everything else on the periphery is like around your specific goals or your, like what your blood work says are deficient or what you know is different. They're like, well, why don't you take this? I was like, because I don't need to.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking about the sleep stack the other day because I asked Jeff, do you take the sleep stack? And he said no. And I was like, oh, wow, he's lucky. He sleeps well.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, I don't have that challenge of like the down regulation at night. Like when I'm like, when the lights turn out, I'm just like, okay, here we go. Boom. Right. But that's who I am, you know, like, and that's lucky, but not everybody's like that.
I am.
Yeah.
But I get a little extra boost from the magnesium and L-theanine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm so sympathetically driven at this point in my life that I just need a little bit of help bringing it down.
Yeah.
But read for 5 minutes and out.
And I had low iron at one point, so the doctor kept prescribing me iron tablets, and then by the time I got my next blood test, I was way too high.
Oh.
So there is a thing as well, everyone says, oh, girls need to be taking iron, and even then, if you are low, you need to be getting regular tests to make sure that you're not over-supplementing. There is such thing as over-supplementation.
Absolutely. I have one allele for hemochromatosis. So that means that genetically I have the ability to hold on to more iron. As plant forward, I never had issues until I had surgery and I was needed transfusion and lost a lot of blood that way and have struggled ever since. Even though I've had some iron infusions and things. So now I'm like, whoa, I never had an issue with iron until now. So I did a course of 2 months of iron supplementation and then went over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Never
Follow-
had issues before. So probably,
Follow your blood work. And that's like, or like, what are you, like, what conditions specific are like, you trying, we talk about collagen. It's like collagen, like you have connective tissue health issues, like post-surgery, pre-surgery, like collagen is a great supplemental thing. But like, if you don't have those things and you're not trying to fight connective tissue health, you can get all the building blocks of amino acids from protein.
Yeah. And some people aren't a responder to some of the supplements.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You have some people that respond really well to collagen, others that don't. Some people have issues with protein powders, some people that don't. So it's hard when you're like, okay, here's my stack, and then you get, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
And this is for me. And you had to figure out and navigate for yourself.
What are the most common supplement questions that you get?
Timing of supplements is a massive one. Like people ask, do omegas, creatine, D3 need to be taken at certain times of the day?
What's the answer?
Yeah. Well, creatine, I know you can take any time of the day.
Any time of the day. But
Creatine is consistency. It's core.
it is consistency.
With the omegas, again, it depends. Like I've got a history of concussion, so I take it morning and night, but not everyone, again, needs to be taking it that frequently.
Yeah, and for people who have a hard time remembering, I'm like, put it by your toothbrush. And you either have it in the morning or night.
Yeah.
The one that I'm really specific on timing is iron, depending on how old you are or as a woman in your reproductive years, where are you and where is your training? And taking it with vitamin D.
Yeah.
Because that's really important to increase the uptake and absorption of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that iron absorption is really affected by caffeine. So you've got to take it away from your coffee. And then also calcium. So you can't be eating your yogurt and then taking your iron supplement.
So I tell people take it at night.
Yeah.
It's not when you're looking at the rhythm of hepcidin and stuff, it's not ideal, but it's better than not being able to absorb it when you're looking at caffeine and dairy.
I did hear a rumor that D3 might keep you awake. Is that true?
I've never seen anything that says
Okay,
that.
good.
Yeah. Maybe if you're taking it with Red Bull.
Yeah. I've heard that about zinc too, and there isn't any
Yeah,
evidence.
good.
That is really interesting. I've never heard either one of those things.
There you go.
Well, I guess I'm reading the comments a lot, so I'm seeing like different people's opinions on things, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I guess I've got to go away and fact check that.
Yeah.
But don't let it get in your head until you fact check it. Yeah.
That's so interesting. What other like supplement question? I mean, I think what I just heard from the supplement perspective is like work into your routine, and that's more important. And then we can figure out optimal timing. And it's like creatine doesn't matter, omegas doesn't matter, but like iron probably does. Iron because it has so many interactions with other things. So like be cautious, but like ultimately, just like with high intensity training and sleep and weight training, right? Consistency is what drives results. And it's like, you know, they didn't build Rome over a year. Like we're not going to build health and wellness over a year. And like supplements are like training, like consistency is what drives results. And I always say like, focus on the basics because the fundamentals are what's going to make all the difference in the world. If you like start dancing on the edge, like then you're just going to stop because it's not meaningful.
Exactly.
Another one that has been the hardest myth to debunk is people putting creatine in their coffee and thinking
That they're absorbing it?
that it's So do you want to talk about the putting creatine in hot and creatine near caffeine?
So the caffeine interaction isn't that viable. There's some research that says that there is an interaction and some that says there isn't. And that when they were looking at caffeine, creatine in a muscle bodybuilding scope where there was interference with regards to...
It was like a high caffeine intake
super
though,
high
like a pre-workout caffeine intake.
Like 200-300 megs.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at putting creatine in your coffee, you can put it in cold coffee and stir it and drink it within 2 to 3 hours. Don't put it into hot coffee because then it becomes it changes form into something that is not creatine and absorbable.
There you go.
And you also don't want to mix it into something and let it sit around for 4 hours and then have it because then the form has changed and it is not bioavailable.
It starts breaking down into creatinine, which is what it naturally does in the body if we're not using creatine.
Right.
And so like that's the inactive form of creatine, and that's really important, right, to understand. Like when you take your creatine, just take it.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're sitting it in a water bottle for long periods of time, it's going to start to degrade and has a shorter half-life.
Yeah. And people are always asking about creatinine.
Yeah.
So this is why it's like, let's just
put
say
it
it's
in your
not
blood test.
Got it. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
because people are like, I went to my doctor and said I have really poor kidney function because I have high creatinine levels. Like, when did you take your creatine?
Yeah.
Before your blood test? Yeah. Well,
That's why.
go back in
Yeah.
without taking creatine and see what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other question we always get asked is, what protein powder do we use personally? So, we use Momentous. My new favorite flavor is the plant vanilla.
Oh,
it's
yes.
delicious.
It is. Yes. I like the unflavored whey.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? You're using whey? Yes, I use whey. And I like the vanilla plant. And then last night we were talking about using the chocolate stirred into yogurt and then putting the chocolate chip cookie granola on top as a dessert.
Well, I was saying my sister makes her protein coffee with the chocolate to make it a mocha.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. That'd be delicious, I bet.
Yeah. And I'm very excited. There's a new cinnamon flavor.
A cinnamon flavored whey.
Yeah.
That's just pure cinnamon. Cinnamon bark is like the only flavor ingredient.
Is it like cinnamon toast then?
It tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch milk.
Okay.
It's really good.
So I'm looking forward to trying that. I nabbed a tub out of Stacy's garage.
Yeah.
You can make it horchata that way then.
Ooh.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. I haven't thought of horchata.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be good.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to thank you about is I no longer have to travel with a Ziploc bag of white powder because you made travel sachets. So that's
of
so
creatine?
good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because going through customs was always one of those things where you're like, oh, it's not drugs.
Yeah. Our friend Kelly Starrett made a very funny spoof video about
Yes.
when we launched our creatine stick packs. I'm sure it's somewhere on social media
Yeah.
still.
It's funny. Yeah. Back in the days when you're like, here's my Ziploc of
Yeah.
white protein powder.
Creatine.
Creatine. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up with one final question of what habits do you think give the biggest return over a lifetime?
Consistency.
Consistency.
Ooh. I think it's just like the habit of movement.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, it's consistency and discipline. But like, I think movement is like the answer to most of our problems and like various types of movement. And like, we are so sedentary as a society. It's like, if we just move a little bit more, we'll have much, like we were built to move.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and we don't move hardly at all.
Yeah. When I look at consistency, I think about movement. I think about consistency in food and food patterns.
Diet.
Yeah.
Consistency in maintaining friendships, so we're not isolated. Consistency in everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to have a lot of time and effort involvement as long as you're consistent.
You just,
I think that's been one of my things now that I'm traveling so much more, and I've learnt from you I've been booking apartments that have kitchens and things so I can make sure that I am making my own food, because I don't want to be buying food out the entire time I'm away. I want to be having my regular consistent breakfast and my regular lunch and everything, just to try to keep some normality, which I've also found makes you adjust to those time zone changes way better as well.
Yes, exactly. And those are my go-tos when I travel. I look at a hotel or an apartment with gym access and a kitchen. And then I often get groceries delivered to where I'm going to be so that I don't have to go shopping when I get there.
Yeah.
sweet.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming
Heck yeah.
all the way from Utah, Jeff,
Yeah.
for a 5-day
To
trip.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
To New Zealand, it was a pleasure. So,
Awesome. Thanks.
And thanks again, bestie. Yes.
yeah.
Great.
Podcast disclaimer. Before we wrap up, just a quick note. Some of what you've heard today reflects the lived experiences and professional perspectives of myself and my guests. In the field of health, performance and longevity, not every topic is supported by large-scale, long-term quantitative research yet. And in many areas, the science is still evolving. Where possible, we reference research and established practice, but we also recognise that individual responses vary and new evidence continues to emerge. I want to be clear that I am not a chatbot or AI, and I don't have instant access to every piece of research ever published. If you're aware of relevant studies or papers that you think would add value to the conversation, I genuinely welcome them. You can send any research articles or suggested reading to podcast@lorettaloveslifting.com. This podcast is intended for education and discussion only and should not replace personalised medical or professional advice.